Hello, hello, hello. This is Nicole M. Louie, the Social Worker Strategy Mentor. I hope that you are well. I hope that you are well. I am live everywhere. I believe I am on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube. I hope that you are very well. Oh my, why do people want to call me when they know I am going live? Why? Okay, I'm back. Welcome to you if you are joining. I am here, I'm your host, and this is day one of the 3-day Start and Scale Your Independent Social Work Business Challenge. So I'm really excited to dive deep with you. People are going to be joining from various areas. Please do use the comment section. I may not be able to see you immediately, but I'm going to launch straight into this because we are here for no more than an hour together. Okay. And so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and we are going to dive into the content. Okay. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, here we are. And so I wonder if it's going to let me utilize this section. Okay, you can see that nice and clearly. I want to be able to see all my slides though down here, and it won't let me see them. So I have my notes next to me, so I'm going to be looking back and forth. And as people pile in, just come on in. Let me see what happens when I press play. Okay, I can see all my slides. Now, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to remove myself, so all you can do is hear Can you hear me now? Oh my gosh. You couldn't hear me because I removed myself. That was why. So I've been talking and I've gone through most of this presentation with no sound. Oh my word. Okay. I'm probably going to have to go back over some of this then and go back to the beginning. I'm so sorry. I'm going to go back to the beginning for you and try and see. Let me see if I can go back. I'm going to have to go all the way back. So I've been jabbering along and you've not been able to hear me. Oh, my life. And we've almost done the hour, right? Okay, so let's start again. I'm going to have to start again. I'm so sorry. Ah, okay. Let me hydrate. I'm hydrating myself. Let me put this down here so it doesn't fall. Can you hear me now? Please put it in the chat if you can hear me. I'm going to wait for people to put it in the chat. I can't believe I've almost gone through the entire presentation and you couldn't hear me. Oh my days. Let me know if you can hear me. Thank you for Cliff for sending it by text. And I'm repeating, somebody's saying that you can hear an echo. Can you still hear an echo? Let me take. What about now? Can you hear me now? Finally. Oh. Can you hear an echo, Val? Let me know in the chat. I'm seeing sad faces. People couldn't. I'm so sorry. Drats. This is the fun and games that you have with tech. Please let me know in the chat if you can still hear me echoing. Yes, you can hear me echoing. How so? I'm not sure how to resolve the echo. I've taken my mic out, so you shouldn't be able to hear an echo. Echo. Can you hear an echo now? No echo. There's no echo on your end, Trisha. Okay, what about for the LinkedIn users? Can you hear an echo now? Let me know if you can hear an echo. Let me know if you can hear an echo if you're on LinkedIn. And I'm going to go onto my LinkedIn page also and see. Yes, you can still hear an echo. Okay, so I don't know what it is about LinkedIn. I'm going to disconnect the LinkedIn and connect it back and see if that resolves it. Because I don't think for those of you, apart from Trisha, who is on Sibongali, you can hear, Cliff cannot hear. And some people that can hear me are hearing an echo. That's bizarre. Is the echo difficult for you to catch what I'm saying? Please put that in the chat. You can hear me fine. Okay, Val can hear me fine. But when I add my slides, that is where it becomes problematic. I'm adding my slides, Val. Can you still hear me? And I'm going to myself. You can still hear me. Good. Okay. So I'm going to keep going because I'm mindful of the time and I'm starting this all over again. So I hope you've got another hour to spare because we're going in. Okay. All right. I'm going to dive deep now. Okay. I've got my notes. I'm going to go through my notes as well. All right. So if you're on LinkedIn and you cannot hear me, some people are on LinkedIn and they can hear me. So I want you
to check your audio, refresh the screen, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to hear me. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go for it. We're starting all over again. Welcome again to the 3-day start and scale your ISW business challenge. And we're going to go again from the top. Okay. So now let's see if it's going to let me. Okay. Can you still see me? I hope that you can still see me and you can still hear me. I'm going to exit. Were you still able to hear me when I opened up the presentation? Please let me know. Tech is the bane of my existence. I'm just going to put it out there. When it works amazingly, but when it doesn't, oh my Lord. Please put in the chat if you heard me when I opened up the presentation and allowed it to fill the screen. Could you still hear me? Please let me know. And then I'll be able to continue moving forward. I'm going to wait for somebody to put it in the chat. Yes. Okay. So when I open it up big and it fills the screen, you can still see me and hear me. Okay, fine. So I am going to go for it. Those of you, if it does happen, please do send a text or a WhatsApp and then I can see it. Send me a text. Okay. Okay, I'm going to open up and we're going to get started. Okay, welcome to the 3-day start and scale your independent social work business. The first thing I want you to do is understand that you were here and we are going to be having a lot of fun together because we're going to be learning something new and we are going to be taking action. Now, if you have not already registered, for those of you that have not got the workbook, there's still time, clearly, because I'm starting again. Okay, and you can get the workbook. The workbook has got actionable pieces to it. So you will actually be able to fill in the questions. You're going to be able to answer questions. There are boxes, prompts. I want you to get that if you have not already done so. It's going to be important if you're thinking about moving forward and following the slides. It's going to be really helpful for you. Now, while I am doing that, I want to make sure that people can actually see me and hear me. So I am trying to log on also over here. Okay, so here's what I want you to promise yourself. I want you to promise yourself that you are going to be all in, that you are going to be present, and that you are going to be giving yourself a space so that you can actually do this learning and dive deep into the content, okay? I absolutely want you to be taking notes, even if you don't register and you don't get the workbook, the digital workbook, get a notepad and pen. I want you to have a quiet space with no interruptions. Put your phone on silent so you don't get interruptions and just be present, be all in. This is your time and this is time for you to commit to yourself, all right? A little bit about me. I'm an independent social worker. For those of you that don't know, many of you are new to my community, and so you will not know much about me. And so I just want to share a little bit about myself. My background is in frontline child protection. I actually worked with children. That is my main like clientele. Children and families is my love. And I first began strategizing when I decided I wanted to be a social worker at 13. So my strategies really kicked in around 16 because I was not old enough to get onto the degree program. And I wasn't able to get into social services to get the experience because I did not have the degree. So I was in a dilemma. And so I had to really strategize and think about how I was going to do this. And so I was very purposeful and strategic. And that kind of ability to strategize has really carried me. And so as I've moved forward in my profession, this has been something that I've continued to do over and over. And I was able to use it again when I became independent. Now, I became independent because it's caseload, time and again operational pathology of abuse and having to work through that. And I think the work just got very admin like is the best way to describe it, which I didn't like. I wanted to be spending time with families. And so I strategized after I jumped ship. So I actually jumped ship and became independent. I didn't even know what a tax return was. I did not have a clue what I was doing, but I know I wanted to be independent. And over that time, I generated 6 figures, made lots of mistakes. And so my love and passion right now is to help social workers just like you avoid the pitfalls while you're actually able to experience more of the mountain peaks of independence. Okay. So now before I go any further, I'm going to press escape and just double check that people can still hear me. Can you still hear me? Are you still with me? Let me know. Let me know as I balm my lips, because all that talking. Let me know in the chat if you are still with me, if you can still hear me and see me okay. Great, wonderful, thank you. Okay, let's go, keep going, excellent. Okay, now for those of you that know me, you will know that I love giving gifts. I do love receiving gifts as well. So, if you want to give me a gift, you can give me a gift, but I love giving gifts. Okay. I really love giving gifts. And so over this 3-day challenge, I am going to be giving away quite a significant prize. And it's like a bundle. It's an ultimate prize that incorporates lots of different little prizes. And so I am excited about that, but there are rules to how you can ensure that you get those gifts. All of these gifts will go to one person. So here are the rules. First and foremost, you need to attend all 3 days. You need to share the link to the challenge on your social media platforms and use the hashtag social workers in business and tag me so that I know that you have done it. And that way I can put your name in the prize draw. What I will be doing will be putting it in a hat on day 4. So after the 3 days is over, I'll make sure, at the end of the 3 days on day 3, I'll put it in a hat or a bowl. I'll select the person that has actually done all 3, met the criteria, and I will share it, make an announcement via a post on social media, and I'll also email that individual. So it's very important that you register, because you want to ensure that I absolutely have your email so that I can send you the information and ensure that you get your prize. So what is the prize? The prize is, there are a few things. First and foremost, you get a scholarship into the program. The Social Workers Launch to Freedom. It's a year-long program with 6 months of learning, 6 months of support built in. And, the spring cohort they are thriving. They're doing so well. And you're going to hear from some of them during this challenge. And you will get a scholarship into that. So you will not have to pay a penny for that year-long program. You'll also get the last quarter of this year so that you finish strong, being able to plan your goals and ensure that you execute them so that you can walk into 2022 strong and in purpose and knowing what you want to achieve and feeling confident that you're going to achieve it. Okay. And so you also get with that the how-to webinar so that you're making sure you're using the planner appropriately. There are 3 different editions. There's a social workers edition, the independent social workers edition, and the business edition. The social workers edition is for social workers still working on the front lines, still in paid employment. The business edition is for people who are not social workers but are in business. And the independent social workers business, the independent social workers planner is a hybrid of the social workers and the business, because we are social workers but we're in business, and so we need the 2. And so you will get whichever one is appropriate for you for this quarter coming up. You'll also get the Get Organized system, which is a system that I use to really help me stay on track. There will always be times where your caseloads blow up and so you will fall behind, but you need a system that allows you to get back on that horse and keep going confidently, knowing what all your cases are, what's going on them, and ensuring that you've got systems to keep in communication with the professionals that you're working and managing, and also your manager, so that you're helping them in their job also. So it has lots of tips and scripts that you're able to use to help you stay on top and maximize your time so that you're able to do the things that you love doing, spending time for yourself, spending time with families that you were serving, and even being able to pursue independence. Like a lot of my mentees who are using this system find with the planner that they're actually able to make real progress and move forward. You'll also get my top 3 business development books, the ones that I recommend. So you'll get the list, and you will also get a VIP invite to a webinar that I'm going to do with so you're going to learn a bit more, a little while, about why that is so important. All right, so let's move on. So the value of this is over £2,500 combined. Okay, so this is really a steal what you are getting. It's well over that. And so I want you to absolutely take part in this, maximize it, capitalize on the freeness. Okay, and all you need to do again is go onto your social media platform, share the link where your friends, your colleagues can also join this free challenge, and just make sure that you use the hashtag social workers in business, SWS in business, and tag me so I know that you've done it. Okay. All right. So let's move on. What can you expect from today? Today, what we are going to be going through, what I was going through, was looking at the different areas of social work as far as why are we doing this? Why is this important for us to be even thinking about social work at all? Because there are many social workers that really want to just exit the profession, right? So what we want to talk about is why it's important. We want to get back and touch base with the core of why we are doing this, right? And then we want to look at that in the context of how does independence fit into that? Does it fit in at all? All right. So that's what we're going to be looking at. And then we're going to be looking at your vision. Like the road ahead is long because life isn't over. And so for many social workers, they either want to think about, right, what can I do next? What's next for me in life? Do I want to continue doing this, or do I want to sidestep into something else? Most social workers' heart is in social work and they can't leave it. That's what I'm finding. And so we want to be able to find a way where we can continue doing what we love while we are meeting our own needs and while we are still being served. Okay. Now there's going to be an opportunity for you to ask questions. Please do put any questions that you have in the chat. There are some people that are shy and they want to maintain confidentiality, so they don't want people to necessarily know that they're thinking about independence. And so I get a lot of people DMing me on Instagram, in Facebook, and on LinkedIn. And so it's easier for me to find it on LinkedIn because there's no hidden little secret message places, but on Facebook and Instagram it is. So I know for a couple of people recently, they had messaged me a couple of days ago and I hadn't seen it. I apologize again. So make sure that you just DM me if you want to. If that's really the way that you feel most comfortable, I'm okay with that. I'll make sure that I keep checking, especially over these 3 days and the days after. So at the end, then we'll have a Q&A and I'll go in and answer any questions. If people don't have questions, I will simply move on. Okay, so we're going to dive right into it. And what I was talking about when you saw this beautiful hand, I was rabbiting on, you couldn't hear me. I was talking about the fact social work is global, right? Social work shows up in different ways and there are different nuances to social work around the globe. And that will be primarily because of the fact it's made up of different cultures, different ethnicities, traditions, and religious contexts in which our communities are formed. And so from one extent part of the world to the next, you know, social work can look very different. And sometimes it's in the form of a statutory organization, and other times it's more informal, but one way or another social work is present. And so we see the relevance in social work. We see that once there are individuals and people that make up families and those families make up communities, there's always going to be a need for social work. My mentees, I have mentees around the globe. And so I know for a fact that the nuances, regardless to how different they are, social work is kind of all the same in terms of what we experience as social workers fundamentally, and there'll be some variations. And so we want to just acknowledge that the importance of social work as we move forward. Now, many of us would have come into social work for different reasons. One of the main reasons, because we like being a voice for those that don't have a voice. We enjoy the idea of advocating for others, but we first have to be able to advocate for ourselves. We first have to be able to know what our message is. Why do we have this message? Why do we want to share this message with the world? And go often and share about marginalized communities and not necessarily work directly with them. We can advocate for them, we can talk about them and be behind the scenes, maybe in the form of marketing for a charity, and not actually being on the front line. But as social workers, we're choosing to be on the front line, we're choosing to be in the trenches. And so we really need to think about where our voice fits in and the relevance of that still, and how can independent social work really help us maximize and amplify that voice. All right. And I want you to think also about the fact that independent social work, some people say that independent social work isn't for everybody. I disagree. I think independent social work is for everybody, but not everybody is willing to do the work that it takes. Not everybody is willing to step out of their comfort zone and really challenge themselves to present themselves in that position where they can make a greater impact. And do is follow always somebody at the front of that crowd leading. And as social workers, we have got a great opportunity to be that leader, to be the person who helps make the change within our communities that can be seen on more of a global, national and international level, so that, you know, a greater impact can be made in the lives of those that we're serving. But in order to do that, we need to have clarity. We need to be really crystal clear about what it is we need to be doing and why we need to be doing it. That's the first point of call, why. And then what do we need to do and how do we need to get there? We need a blueprint. We need a map. We need something that really sheds the light on the path. All right. So that's really important. Now, when we think about communities, when we think about the people that we are serving, ultimately, you know, we need to be very strategic about how we manage, about how we go forward. We need to have strategy and we need to be organized, because if not, things will fall apart. Like social work in its essence is very organized, right? There are processes, there are systems, there are ways in which that we do things. Oh, you know, our work is underpinned by theory, right? And practical tools that we use to actually engage, whether we're with children, whether we're working with adults, whether we're working with people with disabilities, substance, there, you know, all of this is underpinned by theory, tools, and legislation. And so we need to be organized and structured and strategic as we move forward as independent social workers also. But ultimately, these people make up, like a chessboard. They make up the pieces on that chessboard, but we also are part of that chessboard. So when we think about it systemically, if you think about second order cybernetics, second order cybernetics really tells us that as therapists, as social workers, when we get involved in anyone's life, in a family member's life that we are working with, especially, even taking it out of the context of work and even our friends, we start to impact their life. We start changing the trajectory of where life is going for them because of our influence, because of what we bring to the table. And so as individuals, you know, what we do, what we have, our knowledge, our experience is so invaluable. And we oftentimes play small, and we oftentimes don't understand the breadth and scope of what we are able to deliver as social workers when we show up independently. It gives us far more scope. And so I want us just to do a bit of delving and think about the kind of clients that we could be serving and who is important to us. And we're going to start with this Generation Z first and foremost. I think that's the right generation, right? They're after the millennials, okay? Who I think are X. I think I've got that right. I can't keep up with it. But anyway, the babies, the future, right? The most vulnerable in society. Now, we can argue that everyone is vulnerable. And as we go through this, we're going to look at the different kind of vulnerabilities that different people have. But the most vulnerable are the little babies, right? The little children that don't even understand life. They don't understand their emotions. They're trying to make sense of the world around them. Like, they fall apart if they don't have their teddy bear. You know, it's like there are bigger fish to fry in life, but their teddy bear is their life, right? And so there are so many things that for children they just don't understand, and we are their voice. The adults in communities and their family, as social workers, we are their voice, and we are the ones that can really support them and help them. And this was my area. This was absolutely my area, that I love children and families and working with children and helping their parents to care for them, understand their emotional needs. Most parents are fine with the physical. It's the emotional needs that sometimes can get missed, and that can contribute to attachment fractures as they grow up. And so, you know, when we look at children, we look at their vulnerabilities, we look at the things that are going on. Young people, if we look at knife crime in London, for example, abuse and harvesting their organs, and all sorts of heinous things are happening that oftentimes, you know, people don't want to talk about, but it's the reality of what's going on in life. And so we want to think about how we are able to support families, parents, the community, to keep these little ones safe, because it's important, it's imperative. They are the ones that are meant to be growing up to be the next leaders, right? And so it's important that we are supporting and helping them and protecting them. But we also want to be helping their parents, right? We want to be helping their parents, because parents can be vulnerable too. Parents are oftentimes victims themselves from being parented, and that's where we see pathology coming down in and attachment fractures and things that happen in families, and their blueprint is how they were parented, right? So these are all stuff that we know as social workers. And so we want to be able to think about parents also as having vulnerabilities and needing support, needing help, needing care and nurturing to what they do. But manual, it's the hardest job in the world. And so we want to be able to support them. And there are different types of parents. You've got parents that have got disabilities, parents who are victims or struggling with substance misuse. You've got parents who have also been trafficked, you know, and have been used as mules, exploited, you know, prostituted. We have parents that go through a lot, and they have got the responsibility of caring for little ones, or even adults who have got disabilities, and they're responsible for them, and they need help too. Right. And so these are all the kinds of people that when we come into social work, we think about helping, we feel the burden for them on our heart as to why we're doing this. And the other people that I don't want us to forget is men, right? And I've got an image purposefully of a man here, because oftentimes when we think about parents, I think we often go to the mother, right? The mother and the child. But what about the men? We know that men aged between 25 to 35, I believe it is, are high risk of suicide, right? And so it's really something to be worried about, and to be understanding that men can be victims too. They have their vulnerabilities too. And so it's important that everybody is being considered and thought about within this arena. Yeah, ethnicity comes into it as well. So really thinking about these nuances. And so again, if you have the workbook, I want you to be following the prompts and actually be answering those questions related to these slides. So when we think about children, parents, we think about families now as a whole. We think about the families that make up the community, and we think about the fact that these people are people who, you know, as a family, they are struggling with pathology. They need direction, they need support, because you've got different personalities that are coming together. You've got people that are choleric, people that are melancholic, people that are sanguine, people that are phlegmatic, and they come together to have to form a family, and they have to get on. Sometimes family members don't like one another, but they are family, right? And so how do they navigate their way through that? How do they support one another? These things are so important, because when we think about it, is when we think about group theory, the importance of forming, the importance of having longevity and having camaraderie is important, because that's what makes strong families, and strong families make strong communities, right? And so it's important, as we see our work, as we move forward in independence, that we understand the trickle effect down, up, and also from up all the way down. So what is the ladder of impact that we are having? All right. When we look at that in the wider context, I want us to just step outside of that and think about the organizations that we work within. As social workers, we can often feel that we are small little players in a big world. And this is more so true when we're talking about independence. All right. So when people are thinking about independent, they're thinking, yeah, but what can I do? I can do assessments, I can do reports, and they limit themselves. They do not realize the breadth and the gravity of impact that they could actually make in the lives of an individual, family, and then community. And so, you know, we are oftentimes working in structures such as social services or the voluntary sector or the private sector, and they feel so much bigger than us. They feel as though, you know, we are such a small pawn or a small piece of that puzzle, that we don't necessarily affect as much change as we'd like to. And sometimes that can be true. There will always be limitations, because you're having to work within KPIs, which in social work really force you to spend more time doing paperwork than spending time with families. And so this is where independent social work is a really lovely segue to enable you to have the best of both, enables you to actually make that impact in the way that you see fit for the group that you want to work with, the people that you want to work with, and the particular difficulties that they may be experiencing that you want to actually touch and impact. You are able to, in independent social work, have that say. And it doesn't mean that those that are kind of, that you feel towering above you, that you are not working hand in hand with them. In fact, quite the contrary. Independent social work is a win-win-win. You get to, you know, do what you love, but do it in the way that you desire to do it. You are able to work within, of course, the parameters and scopes of legislation, and you will have your own KPIs because you're a business, but they'll be done very differently. Yeah, your KPIs will be based on what you see happening in the lives of those, and that's what you're going to be recording, as opposed to the other way around. And you're going to be simplifying it. You're going to be working hand in hand with social services, other organizations in the voluntary and private sector, because they can refer to you, you can refer to them, and together you are helping those in the community. So we are all putting our hands in the pot and helping one another. And so they win because they are able to have services they can refer to where the pressure can be taken off of them. And families win because they get somebody who can meet their needs in a way that the government and voluntary organizations and private organizations may not be able to. And so this is where independent social work holds its power. And so this is important. Now, I want us to go into looking at the journey, and I'm just going to pause again and just make sure that everyone is still with me, perfectly clear. Can you just confirm to me that you're still with me, that you're still listening, and you can still hear, I'm still clear? Let me know in the chat before I move on, because I don't want to be nattering away to myself again. I'm just going to wait. Great. Thank you. Excellent. Okay. So keep going. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk about your journey, the journey. Now, the reason why I put this as the journey rather than your journey is because for me, I think about this as talking about, yes, it's your journey, my journey, but the reason why it is the journey is because, like, you could have been on any other journey in life, but this is the journey that you are on. Okay. And so you're not here by chance. Some people say that they kind of fell into social work. Whenever we fall, we get back up and we keep going in a direction that is not down, right? So if you fell into it, then it tells me that you wouldn't be still in it necessarily when you face challenges. But most social workers, 90% of them that come into social work, like myself, see the challenges and we stick it out. Like we are die hard, Harley Davidson riders, like we are on it. We are not moving. We are going forward. We are going forward and we are steaming ahead, right? Undeterred. And so, why have we taken the journey? Why are we still on the journey? It's really important that we are able to go back in the recess of our mind and think about, when did this journey start? What was it about social work that connected us emotionally, that made us say, this is the journey that we are going to go on and we're going to stay on it? So when you met those challenges, what were the things that made you stay? And again, I want you to be really using your workbook for this and making notes, because this is where I want you to just delve deep and I want you to connect on an emotional level with this, because what we do is an emotive job. Yeah, it is an emotive profession and vocation. It is about people. It's about connecting with people. It's about touching their lives. It's about loving them enough to help them and deal with, kind of be in it with them to some extent with what they're going through. We deal with things that most of society do not want to touch. Yeah. And so it's really important that you're able to connect with why you're still here, why you're doing this, what's important to you about this, because this will help you decide whether you want to remain in the profession or whether you want to exit it. But one way or another, you want to make a decision. And if you stay in the profession, how do you want to stay? Do you want to stay where you are or do you want to move forwards? And we're going to talk about that as we move forward. But I just want you right now just to think about, what made you come into this profession and why you're still here. And I want you to think about also, as you've thought about how you're moving forward, how you have moved forward on this profession, looking all the way back from where you started to where you are now, what have been some of the milestones? What have been some of the things that have really stuck out for you, that have been the highs, and what have been the things that have stuck out that have been the lows? What have been some of those valley moments that you do not want to experience again, or that you'd like to see changed? And this can oftentimes connect with the experience of our clients or service users. Yeah. Because if we're going through it, imagine for those on the receiving end of our service. Those of you that have, been following me and part of the Launchers community for long enough, you'd know that I always say, you can't serve from a place of depletion. You have to serve from an overflow. Why? Because it impacts those on the receiving end. Yeah, they get a raw deal when we are not working to our best ability and in the best place emotionally, psychologically, physically. And so I really want you to think about what have been the highs, what have been the lows, and make some notes about that, and think about how you're moving, how you have moved forward on this career path. And then I want you to start thinking about the next part of your journey. Where do you go? Do you stay or do you leave? Do you take a detour and go elsewhere? Maybe you sidestep somewhere for now, but that sidestep has still got to be leading somewhere. It needs to lead to exiting, or it needs to lead to moving forward in a new direction, or staying on the same pathway. There are choices. And so for many social workers, they think about remaining where they are for several reasons. They're scared, they're fearful of the unknown. And it's interesting that as social workers, we have clients that we push outside of their comfort zone all of the time, and yet we can't do it ourselves. sometimes. And so I want you to really take this as an opportunity to challenge yourself and think about that. What would my clients say if they saw me, you know, having this fear about being able to move and step out of my comfort zone that I know that they know would benefit me and would benefit them in the long run? What would they say? That's something to think about. And so some social workers don't change. They remain on the same trajectory, but they complain. Now, here's what I want you to do. I want you to promise to yourself now that if you choose to stay on the pathway of remaining in local authority or for the voluntary sector or private organization, wherever you are right now, that's not fully independent, then I want you to come to terms with it and be at peace with it. Don't fight against it, because that adds to the emotional turmoil that you feel and the difficulties that you feel. Come find ways of coping you to experience, because it's not all humdrum. There are so many great things about working in those areas. But for those of you that are feeling the pull and the burnout and the impact on your health physically, on your emotional health, and even your mental health, yeah. And for those of you that I know I've spoken to of experiencing depression, having physical symptoms because of the workload and the pressure and the feeling that you're not really able, you've got a sense of a loss of control and that you don't feel as though you're in charge of your life. You don't feel as though you're able to appreciate and enjoy life because the days, the weeks, the months, years are just going by so fast, and you're being swept away with work and you have little to no time for yourself. I want you to really think about as a next step, you know, where do you go with this? Or, you know, if you're going to take the step forward, what will it look like? And so those that are staying, you're not going to complain. You're going to come to terms with it and be great with it. Those that are wanting to take a step outside, this is the next part of your journey. So for some of you right now, emotionally and psychologically, you would have checked out because you're not ready to do the next stages. But for those of you that are saying you're tired of working in the same way, you want to continue serving people and helping people, but you want to do it in a way that meets your needs, that talks to you, and where you feel you can make an even greater impact by being fully independent, I want us to talk about the next part of your journey. Yeah. And so let's think about independent social work. I want you to think about, and you can put things in the comment. If you've got kind of things that you want to add as I'm talking, please go ahead and put things in the comment. I will come to it when the presentation's ended. But I want you to be mindful that independence is not a cookie cutter. Like, it's not a one size fits all and everybody fits into that. There, you have heard the nuances of the different types of people that we serve and the types of issues that they may have. And so it needs to look different for everybody. We need to be filling the gaps in services where the local authority, voluntary sector, and even private organizations cannot fill because there isn't the government funding, because there's pressure and they're overburdened with an influx of cases and they've got long waiting lists, or because of the way they are structured that says they can't operate in a particular way. This is where independent social work can come in. And so I want us to see the breadth and the scope and the diversity in these shapes here. You can be independent and you can be in the same industry, such as, let's say, fostering, or such as working with parents, and it can look completely different because you are talking to a different audience within that sector, because you are meeting a different need. Okay, and so there is huge scope for independence, as I said earlier on, to impact the individual lives, the family lives, and the lives of communities, which will make for stronger and better communities, where communities are not breaking down. We want to be part and parcel. Remember when we saw the image of all the hands on top of each other? We want to have our hand there and say that we are involved and part of building up communities, as we see communities breaking down, as we see family life breaking down. Yeah. And so in order to do this, we really need to be able to have a clear vision. Like we need to be clear about what lens we are using as to how we are able to map out independence, how we are able to see a vision for ourselves first and foremost, and then see a vision for others. Because if we can't see a vision for ourselves, it's going to be very difficult for us to clearly see how we can take somebody from A to Z, yeah, and make a transformation in their life. And that's what it's about. That, remember, that's what social work is really about. We spoke about that right at the very beginning, where social work is really about touching the lives of individuals, and it's really about us being able to make an impact where they can make changes and where we can be committed to them. And as we start working with them on an independent basis, we go deeper into their needs and we're able to serve them better. And that's where real change that breaks pathologies in families and generational revolving doors and generational curses, sometimes people call it, but certainly the things that show up generationally for people in families and in their families, we are able to break those down and really, really dismantle the unhealthy things that go on in families and in relationships. And so first thing we need to have is a vision for ourselves. And so when we are able to consider what the other side of independence, or the other side of social work, should I say, which is independence, we're able to have a really beautiful vision for ourselves of having more flexibility, being able to commit to ourselves and our self-care and our health, being able to commit to our own families and pursuing the dreams and the aspirations that we have and desire. I know that when we work with individuals, one of the things that we always ask them is, what are your goals? What are the things that you want to achieve? And we help them achieve it. We spend money and we pay for things so that they can go and for children, they can be part of football clubs. For parents, we might pay for them to go to classes where they can upskill themselves. Yeah, we pay for things for people as social workers and advocate, but we don't do it for ourselves. And so independence is a great way for us being able to recognize an arena where we can really focus on what we need and how we need it and work and build our business around that. All right. And so it is crucially important that we are able to have a vision for ourselves first and foremost, and understand that the benefits and the breadth and level of flexibility that independence can give us. I know for myself, independence has enabled me to go abroad. For those of you that are in my community as launchers, I have health challenges. I'm able to go abroad for treatment. I'm able to take time off when I need it. I'm able to have a routine that incorporates health practices and principles that is enabling me to improve my health. Yeah. I know it has enabled me to go on holiday whenever I've wanted to. I can work flexibly wherever the location is, whatever the destination is. I'm able to work and serve people in a way that fits with my value, really fits with my value. And for those of you that have got the workbook, some of that is what you would have already gone through in the earlier slides that we've gone through and touched upon. So understanding your own values and what's important to you, I've been able to work in a way that really enables me to feel fulfilled and filled. And it has not compromised my income or my earning power at all. Quite the contrary. I'm actually breaking through the mold and breaking the ceiling of what I was earning. And so the potential and the scope is wonderful when you feel as though you're walking in your purpose and working in a way that fits with your integrity, yeah, and where you are not compromising yourself. And so I really want you to fall in love with this idea of what is possible for you. And I want you to see it as an opportunity to challenge yourself so that you can experience change to progress, because that's really the stepping stones of independence. It's always a challenge first and foremost when people are thinking about independence, even if you didn't know what it was. I've got mentees that I'm working with that had never heard of independence before they saw one of my live streams. And then they got to understand more about it from diving into the content on my social media pages. Then they booked a free breakthrough consultation with me where we were able to dive deep and talk about independence and how it would work for them, what it means to them, and is it for them? And now they're on the trajectory where they are building their business in real time, like as we speak. And so challenge yourself, be willing to change because you want to progress in life. You want to progress personally and professionally. All right. And so that really takes me into saying that final piece is I want you to think about, especially for those of you that are filling in the workbook, think about how do you want to experience these things on a personal level, but also on a professional level. And by professional, I mean the impact, what change do you want to see in your career, and what change do you want to see in the lives of those you serve? Because for whatever reason, you're not feeling fulfilled. And that's one of the reasons why you're wanting to step outside of social work, or sidestep, or leave it altogether, or move into independence. And so I want you to think about that. All right. And so I'm going to come on to just reminding you about the challenge that we have up for those of you that may only just be joining. First of all, if you haven't already booked one of your free consultations, we can have a conversation. If you think independence or you want to know more about it, book a free consultation. If you go onto my website, nicolemlouis.com, you will be able to see the pop-up. You can become part of the Launchers community. You'll actually get my 5 simple steps to independent social work status. And that is a guide, workbook, and checklist that you can actually start taking tangible steps to make some changes. And you can, on that website, you'll also see the link to book your free consultation. So if you haven't done that, please do that, because I would love to help you think through how you can make this work and make it more personable for you. But for those of you that are on this challenge, this is the prize that I'm going to be giving away to a lucky social worker who actually fits the criteria, which is to be able to attend all 3 days. So today, tomorrow, and the day after, and to also make sure that you share the page for the 3-day challenge on your social media and tag me so that I know that you've done it, Nicole M. Louis, because that way I won't know that you've done it. I won't be able to put your name in the hat. And make sure you use the hashtag social workers in business. And that way I'll know that you've done it, and I can put you in for the free prize draw. So these are all the amazing prizes that you'll win. And if you're only joining now, I went in to explain what each one is. Go back and watch the replay. The replay will be available for the 3 days. After the 3 days, it will actually come down, these replays. So please do make sure that you're engaged and watching, to be able to get the prize. So that is all for now. Thank you so much. I want us to go together, start conquering our fears together. And for those of you that went onto the website and had a look at my video where I conquered one of my fears this year, and I did scuba diving. If you haven't seen it, go onto the website and have a look and have a chuckle. And this is now the time for questions. So I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Good, and it's still clear. I'm glad about that. I'm going to check the comment sections to see if there are any questions. I am all over the place. I'm on YouTube. I'm in the Facebook community, private community, Facebook. I'm on my community, my social workers page on Facebook. Okay, great. Thank you. And I'm also on LinkedIn. So I'm going to go everywhere and check just now. So if you have any questions, please put it in. The stuff that we've covered today is pretty simple stuff. It's stuff to really just get you thinking. The content is just to get you thinking and to really get you focused and prepared to really digest the content for tomorrow and the day after. So this would be a really, really nice way in, a really, really nice segue in to learning and hearing about what's coming up tomorrow and the day after. So, okay, everyone's there. Good. I'm glad you lot were able to join. Okay, so we have no questions. That means everything is crystal clear. You're very welcome. I'm glad that you found it helpful. And go ahead and share this page, share even this replay, and ensure that other social workers are getting the benefit of also learning about this, because we want other social workers who may be experiencing what you're experiencing to have the opportunity to hear about this and think about what other options are available to them. So Janet is asking, how might this be of benefit to counselors? This is definitely a benefit to counselors. I know that on my program, I have somebody who is actually in the ceramics business and somebody who's going into ministry, biblical ministry, and on the program, and it is working for them also. And I often I've mentored people in the fitness industry, and somebody that does branding. So this is definitely relevant for anyone in the kind of caring profession as well. If it can work for people in other professionals, it will definitely work for yourself. Independence is important because it's really about the blueprint and the way in which the business is built and the way in which it is developed. And my launchers will attest to this, that the way in which I put it together, that has worked for me, I know that it works for other people as well. I've got people in South Africa that has launched their business and doing very well. And so it can work anywhere. So definitely if you're a counselor, it will work for you too. So absolutely stick with the challenge. And again, book a free breakthrough consultation. We can have a chat about how, you can take this deeper if you are really ready to challenge yourself and move forward. So thank you for that question, Janet. That was helpful. So with that said, I'm going to love you and leave you. We have gone over by an additional hour because you couldn't hear my audio initially. So I'm so sorry for that. So what I will try and do if I present the replay and make it available for those that sign up, that have signed up, you'll actually have 7 days access to the challenge. Yes, it's for anyone in the caring profession, this independent social work. Of course, I'm gearing it towards social workers, but for my programs, anyone who's in the caring profession and even those outside of the caring profession would benefit from the program because of the design and the layout. So yes. Okay, so I'm going to love you and leave you all. Thank you so much for joining. I did not even check the YouTube channel. Let me check that before I go, because I want to make sure that people are not being ignored over there. Bear with me. And if you have any last questions, go ahead and put it in before I close it down. Before I close it down. That's me talking. Okay, good. Excellent, excellent. Okay, so thank you so much for joining. Those of you that are watching live and those of you that have participated, and for those on the replay, please do go ahead, put your comments and your questions, and I will certainly go back to it. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 7 p.m. UK time. Take care for now.